Hey you guys, it's Carrie Keeper, the author of No Other Gods, Pursuing Your Passion for Jesus and Basketball, and the creator of JabStep, an organization that brings church to the courts on Sundays. Well, I had no idea I was going to create a video today. I don't even know what I'm going to say, but I have a story to tell. And because fall ball is here and I'm seeing posts about it now, I thought, now is the time. I don't have a script. I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but I'm just here to tell you my story. And I wanted to start this story by reading the epilogue that is in No Other God. So as I read this, this will explain to you the story that I have to share with you today. By the way, I submitted my manuscript in December, like early December of 2019. And I got the manuscript back and asked them, can I add an epilogue? Because a couple events had happened. One of those including Kobe Bryant's unfortunate death, and another event that I want to talk to you about. So, just days after submitting my manuscript for No Other Gods, the Lord began to strip things away from me one by one. Pluck, pluck, pluck. One of those things was basketball related. For 2 days, and actually I think it was more, I found myself weeping unexpectedly, feeling depressed, and I grieved relationships that I thought would be lost. It left me to ask the question, Carrie, are you sure you haven't made basketball an idol? Indeed, I believe I had. And so today, about a year and a half later, I am ready to share what this epilogue is about. I submitted that, as I said, in December of 2019, but on January 1st, 2020, before COVID was even a thing, at least in the United States, my daughter, who I was convinced, and we had been working towards this goal of having her play in college, she sat down at the table and she said to my husband, Kevin, and I, she said, I don't want to play basketball in college anymore. And she just began to weep and weep. And I think part of that weeping was it just took so much courage for her to share that. Well, while my husband was saying, it's okay. We have always told you guys that when you want to quit playing basketball, you can quit. And inside, I'm saying the same thing too, like, it's okay. But I was shocked and I was dumbfounded and I was blindsided because just a few days before that, we had literally sat down at the table together and sent letters off to 5 college coaches. We had updated her college recruiting profile. We had updated a personal website. And so I didn't know where this was coming from. So I began to, even in that moment, grieve. And I began to grieve watching her play in college. I began to grieve watching, and she had mentioned, by the way, that she didn't even know if she wanted to play club basketball anymore. So this was going into junior year. And of course, then my question was, well, do you still want to play school ball? Because I didn't want to give it all up as a mom. So those questions were, I don't know at the time, but then she said, yeah, she did want to play school ball because she had records to break. So in my heart, I'm like, okay, good. Well, at least we have school ball. So, which incidentally, I want to say, just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective, that Kaylin's freshman year of basketball, she was the district newcomer of the year. And then in the next 2 years, she broke 7 school records. So she was definitely a candidate for collegiate basketball. So anyway, back to where I was going, like I was grieving like you grieve when somebody dies, and but grieving the relationships with those club families that we had been a part of for years, that were an extension of my family. And I began to grieve taking her to trainings. I began to grieve traveling with her to basketball, because I traveled mostly with my daughter and not my son. And you can see, obviously, even now, it stirs me to emotions, because it was almost as if something in me had died. And so when I was sitting out on the deck one morning, it was as if God said, here you are. You're writing this book called No Other Gods, where you're telling people, don't make basketball a god. And I'm telling people, like, ball is not life, Jesus is life. And I'm like, but if that's the truth, then why was I feeling so lifeless? And why was I feeling like a part of me had died? And so God began to do an incredible number on me. And I think back to April of 2017, when God planted this seed in my heart to write this book, to encourage families to, hey, don't forget about God when you go off to tournaments on weekends. Don't put Jesus on a shelf for the summer because you're playing basketball. Like, that was my heart. But God was, he was communicating to me that, hey, I think that you have made your children and that little ball an idol yourself. And I think you need to really look at and do some reflection on what you're writing about and how you're and what you're really living. So this book, No Other Gods, began to be incredibly personal to me. I think, and I've heard that when authors write a book, it's typically more for them, and that it actually reaches other people too, but that it usually is for them. And I believe that now when I look back and where I'm sitting now. Because God knew, he knew that this day was coming. So, and where this day is coming and why it's hit me in the face now is because here my daughter is senior year of basketball, and she's not on the court because while she loved basketball, that was not her God. And that is not where she found value. And that's not where she found her identity. And a lot of times people might say, oh yeah, you're the girl that's really good in basketball. And she's like, I don't want to be known as that girl. She wanted to be known for who she was. Not what she could give to a basketball team. And she knew better than me. And I'm so incredibly proud that she had the courage to walk away from something that she knew would even, maybe disappoint her parents, which, if I'm being completely honest, it was really difficult. Obviously, it was really difficult. And the only reason that I have emotion now is just reliving and retelling the story, because it has meant so much to me that God would be so faithful, and that God would bring me to a point where he has ministered to my heart so much, and I'm so grateful for that. And so today I'm actually, even though it doesn't look like, so incredibly happy that my daughter's walking through her senior year doing what she wants to do and not feeling like she's being forced to do something because other people expect it of her. And she maybe didn't find she found, I think, value as a basketball player, but maybe not value in who she was. And so I'm so grateful that she knows that her identity does not come from a basketball. That her identity does not come from how many points she scores. And even though like she broke all these records with most 3-pointers, most free throws in a game, most all this stuff, which I was I held on to those more than she did. And so that's, I think, too, where God was talking to me. It's like, you're like placing a lot more value on those things than you need to be. And so today, I guess my message to you is that at any time, and now I want to talk to parents right now, at any time, because I know a lot of you, and I love you guys, have your kids are playing sports right now, and oh my gosh, the joy. I know that the joy that is in your heart from watching them is just unexplainable. But that could be taken away at any point. And just, I want you to remember that who your kids are, without that ball, is more important than who they are with it. I can't imagine, like, I didn't love Kaylin because she played basketball. I didn't love Caden because he played basketball. Like, I loved to watch them. But I've been taught this just amazing lesson that, and I knew this, like, up here, like, I knew it up here, but I now know it in here, that our identity does not come from what we do. Our identity comes from who we are. And our identity comes for me and for my children, my family, and hopefully for you. Our identity comes from Christ, and that we are a child of God, and that there's nothing that we can do to make him love us anymore. And and you know this as well as I do, that our kids, we're going to love them whether they're scoring 0 points or 40 points. Our love for them is not based on their performance, and that's how it is with Christ with us. And so when I wrote this book, I didn't know today was coming. I didn't know that God would take me through this season, going through the wilderness of having to walk out all those Bible studies. And here's the truth, if I've never shared this with you before, that this publication process took a little longer, and I was so grateful to God, because every single lesson that I wrote about, he made me walk through that lesson, and he made me respond like in a way that a believer in Christ needed to respond before he was going to allow that book to go to publication. Because if I wasn't going to be living it, then that he wasn't going to allow it to be put into publication. So it was a tough season, but have you ever gone through something really hard, but it was like the best thing that happened to you? That's what God did for me. And I love, if I'm being honest, would I love to watch my girl play this season, her senior year? Yeah, but I cannot even begin to explain the joy in my heart for her walking away and me loving her even more for it. So I just, I think if I had to give you a takeaway today, it's to, and this is for coaches, to value your kids and your players for who they are, not what they do and not what they can give you, but love them for who they are, and just enjoy every moment, because you never know when it's going to be taken away. And just make sure that you're enough without it. Without soccer, you're enough without football, you're enough without basketball, you're enough without track, you're enough without whatever sport you play, whatever job you do, you are enough without it. Because if it gets taken away, think about where your identity is. So I hope this spoke to you today. If you have any questions, for me, or any questions about how you can come to know your identity in Jesus Christ, I would be more than overjoyed to share that with you. Thanks.